My daughter emailed me and told me not to come to her wedding. Not because I was sick. Not because there wasn't space. She just said, you can watch it through Livestream. Oh, even better, Google Earth window LOL. That single LOL felt colder than winter. Like she was laughing while pushing me out of a moment I'd dreamed of all her life. I stared at that email for a long time. It felt unreal. I raised this girl alone. I worked double shifts, packed lunches, stayed awake during fevers, cheered at graduations, and suddenly I was only good enough to be a viewer, not a mother. I simply replied, sure, enjoy your big day. I didn't cry at that moment. Shock is quiet. It arrives like a person walking barefoot inside your heart. You only feel the pain when it starts bleeding. You being here with me means something. It means you're willing to hear the truth I carried for years, a truth I never imagined I'd have to say out loud. My name is Linda Carter. I'm 52. My only daughter is Emily. When she got engaged to Michael, I was happy, genuinely. He was neat, polished, the kind of man who looked like he was born holding a business card. They talked about Paris weddings, designer gowns, champagne under the Eiffel Tower. Beautiful dreams, expensive dreams. So, like any mother wanting her daughter to shine, I contributed. Not fully, but more than was comfortable. Wedding venue down payment? I paid half. Dress fittings? I paid. Flowers, photographers, even the honeymoon resort. Piece by piece, the bills came to my card. Every time I wired money, she texted, thanks mom, you're the best. Funny how gratitude has an expiration date. When she sent that email pushing me out, I reread our old messages. 2 months earlier she wrote, Mom, I want you next to me when I try my dress. Now suddenly, she preferred me behind a screen. What changed? Who changed her heart? That night, I kept the lights off and sat in silence. I remembered her small hands holding mine on her first day of school. I remembered her calling me from college dorms crying over heartbreaks. I remembered her saying, you're all I have, Mom. How do those memories evaporate so fast? I tried calling her, no answer. Texted, delivered, not read. It felt like a house filled with memories, but every door had been locked from inside. Next morning, I made tea, but it tasted like metal. Even the house felt different, like the walls knew something I didn't. She didn't just uninvite me, she erased me. And the cruelest part? I paid for the celebration I wasn't allowed to attend. My phone buzzed later that day. 11 missed calls from Emily. Voicemails. Messages. Now she wanted to talk. But heart has weight, and that day, I let it sit. I didn't pick up. I needed time. Maybe she did too. While cleaning the table, I noticed the delivery slip sticking halfway under the mail. A box had arrived, addressed to Emily, but sent to my house. Strange. She lived with Michael now. Why here? Curiosity is a dangerous kindness. I opened it. Inside were wedding place cards, neat, elegant, glossy. Michael's parents were front row. Corporate people second row. Friends next. 100 names. Mine wasn't there. Not even at the back. That moment wasn't loud. It was quiet heartbreak, the kind that burns slow instead of exploding. And as I held those cards in my hands, one thought settled deep inside me. If they didn't want me at the wedding, fine. But the money keeping this wedding alive, that was still mine. And pain, when it sits long enough, turns into clarity. My clarity was simple. They were about to learn that a mother may be gentle, but she is never powerless. I didn't know whether to be angry or heartbroken. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Sometimes pain doesn't scream. It sits in your chest like a stone and waits. I spent the rest of the night turning receipts over in my hand, the ink smudged from my fingers. Each one was a reminder of how many times I said yes when she never expected a no. Morning came with sunlight I didn't ask for. I dressed for work, applied lipstick like armor, and went to the library. Routine felt like a lifeline. Books don't betray you. Pages don't forget who held them. Still, every time my phone buzzed in my pocket, my heart jerked. It was her, over and over. Mom, please answer. We need to talk. It's urgent. Urgent. Funny how urgency appears only when convenience disappears. I didn't respond. Not out of revenge yet. Just exhaustion. I had given this girl every piece of me, and now she wanted the last piece without offering anything back. During lunch break, I sat on the back steps of the library with a sandwich I couldn't taste. My coworker Sarah came out and sat beside me. She glanced at my face once and sighed. Family trouble. I nodded. Something like that. She didn't pry. Mothers recognize pain like wolves recognize scent. Instead, she said quietly, the ones we give everything to, sometimes they forget who helped them climb. She patted my knee and went back inside. Those words stayed like a ghost behind me. After work, I returned home to find the wedding invoices scattered on the dining table where I'd left them. Dress deposit, venue payment, makeup artist, photographer, honeymoon partial fee, my name, my card, my signature, all over her dream. I sat down and spread them like playing cards. If someone saw from afar, they might think I was planning something. Maybe I was, even if I didn't admit it yet. As dust crawled across the windows, I heard myself whisper, why would she push me out? The silence answered back, not with explanation, but with realization. My daughter wasn't distancing herself. She was being distanced. Someone was drawing the line for her. I drove to her apartment. I needed real answers. The building smelled of polished marble and wealthy decisions. When I knocked, no one came. A concierge approached me, hands politely folded. Looking for Ms. Carter, he asked. Yes, I'm her mother. She checked out yesterday. Moved to the hotel early, with the groom's family. My eyebrows lifted. Moved early? Without telling me. To the groom's family place? Something tightened in my stomach, a string pulling me toward truth. At the hotel, the receptionist smiled gently, tapping on her keyboard. Emily Carter? She's here, but she requested no visitors unless approved. No visitors. Not even her mother. I stood there frozen, like the ground shifted an inch and only I felt it. I thanked her and turned toward the lobby. That's when I saw Michael across the room. Perfect suit. Perfect posture. Perfect smile that never reached his eyes. He walked over, polite on the surface, steel underneath. Linda, I didn't expect you here. I'm sure you didn't, I replied. We're trying to keep the wedding small. Simple. Simple. Then why Paris? Why luxury gowns? Why a venue that cost half my savings? Just close family and friends, he added. Close family. Except the woman who raised her from nothing. I asked, so I'm not family? He didn't answer, and silence is sometimes a louder answer than words. I left the hotel with a tremor running through my fingers. Not anger. Not yet. A kind of cold awareness. The kind that whispers, they think you are powerless. Driving home, I pulled over and let myself cry. Full body, shaking, breathless. But even while crying, I felt something shift inside. Something sharpening. Something waking. When I reached home, I looked at the invoices again, not as memories, but as leverage. They wanted a wedding without the mother who paid for it. Fine, but I wasn't just a mother. I was the holder of every receipt they needed to make that fairy tale real. And that meant something powerful, something they didn't expect me to use. I picked up one invoice slowly, like a matchstick, and without fully realizing it, I started planning. I spent half the night at the dining table, receipts spread like battlefield maps. The more I stayed, the more one truth settled heavy on my chest. They didn't just exclude me emotionally, they financially used me. Nobody used to teach mothers how to take back what they gave. We only learn when heartbreak becomes a teacher. Around midnight, I gathered every invoice, made copies, sorted them into a neat folder labeled only in my mind, evidence. I went to bed with red eyes and a cold pillow, but sleep never came. Emily's missed calls echoed in my thoughts like footsteps in an empty corridor. Why now? Why panic? Why urgent? The next morning, the doorbell rang. A delivery man stood holding a medium-sized box addressed to Emily Carter, delivered to my address. That alone felt like a clue wrapped in cardboard. She lived with Michael now. She hadn't visited in weeks. Why here? I thanked him, closed the door, stared at the package like it might explain everything. I knew I shouldn't open it, but a mother's intuition is louder than rules. I sliced the tape. Inside were elegant white place cards tied with ribbon, each one printed with gold names. Seating arrangements. I sat at the table and sifted through them slowly. Michael's parents, head table. Executives, second. Bridesmaids, college friends, scattered gracefully like confetti. Over 100 names. Not mine. Not even hidden in the back row. Not Linda Carter. Not mother of bride. Not anything. It hit harder than the email. Being uninvited was painful. Being invisible was cruel. My chest tightened. I wasn't just excluded. I had been erased. I pushed the cards away and leaned back, staring at the ceiling like answers might be written in the plaster. Instead, silence answered. Heavy, cold, familiar now. When my phone buzzed again, I picked it up. Video call. Emily. I answered, because even when hurt, motherhood has a reflex you can't mute. She appeared on screen, eyes red, voice trembling. Mom, please don't hang up. I didn't speak. I just looked at her. I made a mistake, she whispered. I need to talk to you about the wedding. My voice was calm, too calm. What mistake? Before she could respond, someone behind her said, Emily, we're late, and the call cut. Just like that. Silence again, but different this time. This silence tasted like fear. Haze. I tried calling back. Nothing. Messages wouldn't deliver. Blocked? Controlled? I couldn't tell. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just her decision. Something, or someone, was pulling strings. I needed to see for myself, not through screens or emails or place cards. So that afternoon, I drove back to the hotel, folder under my arm like armor. I wasn't going as a begging mother anymore. I was going as the woman who paid for everything. The lobby smelled of roses and polished marble. I stepped out of the elevator, hearing laughter from the rehearsal hall. Wedding dresses swished, champagne glasses clinked. My footsteps were the only sound that cut through it. Slow, firm, undeniable. Michael saw me first. His face froze, then arranged itself into a polite smile. Linda, he said like he owned the moment, this isn't the time. Wrong thing to say to a mother holding receipts. I walked past him without waiting for permission. Emily stood near the stage, bouquet in hand, looking like a bird kept in a gold cage. Our eyes met, hairs filled with guilt, relief, fear all at once. She started walking toward me, but Michael blocked her halfway. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply placed the thick folder on the nearest table, the papers fanning out like sharp truths. He looked down, saw invoices highlighted in yellow under MY payment, and his face drained. That was the first crack. Small, but real. I met his eyes calmly. I'm here to talk, I said, not to watch through a live stream. Emily's breath caught. Michael's mother whispered something sharp to him. People stayed, some pretending not to. Tension hung in the room like electricity about to strike. They thought I would break quietly. They didn't know I came prepared. Because love can make a woman blind, but betrayal makes her see everything. Tomorrow was the rehearsal. 2 days remained before the wedding, and I was done being silent. I just hadn't decided how to take control yet. But I would, and soon, everyone would feel it. When I left that hall, I didn't storm out. I walked out slowly, holding my folder like a secret only I knew how to use. Revenge doesn't always come as fire. Sometimes it comes as patience. On the drive home, the sunset looked bruised purple, like the sky was tired of shining. I understood that feeling. At home, I placed the folder on the dining table again, smoothed the pages, and stared. How many times had I signed my name trusting love would be returned with love? I had written checks believing I was building memories, not funding my own exclusion. I poured myself a glass of water, sat down, and let the quiet wrap around me. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. The receipts weren't just proof of payment, they were ownership. Every service had my signature. Every contract had my authorization. And with that realization came another whisper of power. My phone lit up, another message. This time from an unsaved number. I'm sorry about how they are treating you. Emily isn't happy. S. S? Who was S? Before I could think too much, another message came. She cried after you left. She wanted you there. They told her it would ruin the image. Image. There it was again. That word. Image over love. Status over mother. Appearance over truth. Something deep in my chest twisted, but not the helpless pain from before. This was sharper. Focused. I typed back slowly. Who are you? Seconds passed. Then, Sarah, the maid of honor. I shouldn't be texting you, but she needs you. Emily's friend. Loyal enough to risk messaging me behind the groom's family. That alone told me everything. Emily wasn't cold. She was cornered. I replied, why did she tell me to watch through Livestream? A pause, then 4 words that changed everything. She didn't write that. My breath hitched. My fingers froze above the screen. She didn't write that. My knees felt weak, and I sank into the chair. All this time, I blamed my daughter. All this time, I held anger against the wrong person. The tone, the LOL, the casual cruelty. It wasn't her voice. It was someone else writing with her access. My heart pounded hard enough to feel in my throat. I called Sarah immediately. She answered in a whisper. I shouldn't talk long, she said. Michael's mother controls everything. Guest list, decor, even Emily's phone sometimes. She said you would embarrass them. Embarrass. That word stabbed deeper than betrayal. I had spent my life protecting Emily's dignity, and these people thought I'd stain theirs? I closed my eyes and inhaled slowly. Why didn't Emily stop them? She's scared, Sarah whispered. She thinks if she argues, she'll ruin the wedding. They keep reminding her who paid for what. She didn't know you covered almost everything. They told her Michael's family did. Blood rushed to my ears. They erased me financially and emotionally, replaced my contributions with their credit. You need to talk to her privately, Sarah said, without them around. I will, I promised. After the call, I sat there in silence. Everything made sense now. The sudden distance, the blocked calls, the desperate messages later. My daughter wasn't pushing me out. She was being pushed, and I was done letting them. I gathered the receipts again, slid them carefully into a new envelope. Then I opened my laptop, checked every contract, every service booked. And there it was, in the fine print on most of them. Primary pair holds right to modify or cancel. They didn't know that I held the matchbox to their fairytale wedding. And tomorrow, at the rehearsal, I was going to strike it. Not to destroy her happiness, but to remind every person in that room exactly who built it. I wasn't seeking revenge for pain anymore. I was seeking respect, and I would take it. I woke up the next morning not devastated, not confused, just clear. The kind of clarity that comes after a storm when the sky is washed clean. I sat at the kitchen table with coffee and spread the receipts again. But this time it wasn't pain looking at them. It was power. They thought keeping me out would be easy. They thought a mother would stay quiet. They forgot mothers aren't weak, we're patient. And patience in the wrong hands becomes strategy. I placed the receipts into a leather folder, added printed contracts, highlighted the fine print. It all looked so official it almost felt like I was preparing for court. In a way, I was just not the legal kind. This would be a courtroom of eyes, whispers, pride, and consequences. I showered, wore a cream blouse, black pants, simple necklace. No shaking hands. No heart racing. Calm. Cold calm. The kind where your voice becomes the sharpest thing in the room because it no longer trembles. Driving to the hotel, I rehearsed nothing. I didn't need to. Truth doesn't need practice. Lies do. At the reception desk, I said politely, I need access to the rehearsal hall. She hesitated. Last time I wasn't allowed. But when I placed a copy of the contract on the counter with my name under payment authorization, her tone changed instantly. Of course, Ms. Carter. Elevators to the left. Power is quiet when it's real. When I entered the hall, Music was playing softly. Bridesmaids laughed near the stage. Michael's parents stood with planners, handing out corrections like royalty. Emily was trying on her dress. She looked beautiful, but also pale, like someone holding her breath for days. She saw me and froze. Not fear this time. Relief. It was quick, soft, like hope she didn't know she had permission to feel. I approached slowly. Michael stepped in front of her like a guard dog. "This is a private rehearsal," he said. I met his eyes, calm as water, and half of it is funded by me. He blinked. His mother shifted uncomfortably. I placed the folder on the table. The sound echoed across the room like a gavel. He opened it. The color drained from his face. Venue deposit, my card. Florist, my card. Photographer, my card. Makeup, decor, ring platter, cake, my card. Honeymoon booking, my card. Every page screamed a truth they ignored. Emily stepped closer, voice small. "Mom, I didn't know." I looked at her, not angry, just disappointed. "Because they didn't want you to." Her eyes filled, and she glanced at Michael. His jaw tightened, guilt or irritation, I couldn't tell. Maybe both. I wasn't here to cry or beg. I was here to draw a line. I said softly, "You have two choices. Add me to the wedding as your mother, present and respected, or I cancel every payment I made." Michael's mother gasped. "How dare you threaten us on her wedding week?" I smiled, almost kindly. "This isn't a threat. This is a receipt speaking louder than your opinion." Whispers filled the room. Every guest there knew what canceling meant. No venue tomorrow. No florist. No photographer. No honeymoon. Months of planning gone with one phone call. I gently picked up my phone. If I press dial, everything halts. Emily's voice cracked. "Mom, please don't." Her eyes begged, not out of entitlement, but fear and love tangled messy. I stepped closer and wiped a tear from her cheek. "Sweetheart, I never wanted to ruin anything. I just wanted a seat in the life I helped you build." Something broke inside her then, or maybe something finally healed. She nodded slowly, voice trembling. "You deserve to be there," she whispered. "Not as a viewer, as my mother." Michael looked between us, defeated. His control slipped through his fingers like sand. His mother looked furious, but powerless, because for once, money wasn't on her side. Emily held my hands. "Will you come to my wedding?" A question I should have heard months ago. Yet hearing it now meant more than ever. "Yes," I said. But inside, I knew acceptance wasn't enough. Respect needed to be earned back, not just asked. And tomorrow, the real wedding day, would show whether this apology was fear or love. I walked out slowly, leaving the folder there. Not as a threat anymore, but as a reminder. They wanted a perfect wedding. Tomorrow, they would get one. But on my terms. The morning of the wedding arrived with a strange stillness, the kind you feel before rain. I woke early, showered, took my time choosing a dress. Not extravagant, not dull, navy silk, elegant and confident. I pinned my hair the way Emily always loved, added a soft perfume she used to steal from my cabinet in college. I looked in the mirror and didn't see the woman who cried at her own dining table. I saw someone who remembered her worth and wasn't afraid to claim it. When I reached the venue, guests were already being seated, cameras flashing, laughter echoing across polished marble. The air smelled like roses and expensive expectations. As I stepped inside, conversations softened. Heads turned, not judging, observing. Curious, some eyes widened, like they didn't expect me to have the courage to show up. But here I was, not by invitation, but by right. Emily appeared at the end of the hallway in her gown, veil behind her like a wave of white. She wasn't glowing like brides do in movies. She looked nervous, hands trembling slightly as Sarah fixed her bouquet. But when our eyes met, something softened in her expression. She walked toward me slowly. "You came," she whispered. "I said I would," I replied. She swallowed. "I'm sorry. For everything." I nodded gently. "We'll talk after. Today is your day." Tears welled in her eyes. Gratitude. Shame. love all tangled. She hugged me, the kind of hug that holds years of apology inside its arms. For a moment, I felt like her mother again, not a discarded extra. The doors opened, music swelled, guests stood. Emily walked down the aisle, not looking at the chandeliers or the faces on either side. She looked straight ahead, breathing through her nerves. I followed quietly behind, taking my seat in the front row where a mother belonged. Strange how a chair can feel like justice. Michael looked uneasy when he saw me. His smile was too stiff, his shoulders tight under his suit. He knew I wasn't the woman he thought he could sideline. He didn't control this narrative anymore. Respect did. The ceremony went smoothly. Rings, vows, trembling voices. When they said "I do," applause thundered like a seal being stamped on a new chapter. And yet, there was tension humming like a string pulled tight, waiting to snap. At the reception, glasses clinked, laughter grew, music warmed the room. But underneath the glitter was truth, uncovered now, breathing. During the toast, Michael lifted his glass first, thanking his parents, his colleagues, his friends. He paused only a second before adding, "And Emily's mother is here with us today as well." His tone tasted like forced courtesy, not sincerity. Then he said it, the line that lit my final spark. "We appreciate the support her mother gave emotionally as she raised Emily." Emotionally, only emotionally. Like the tens of thousands I paid were imaginary. I stood up slowly. The room quieted, silence thick as honey. I'd like to say something. All eyes shifted to me. Emily's breath hitched. Michael's mother stiffened. I held the microphone gently, no shaking, no rage. "I am proud of my daughter today. She found love, and love is worth celebrating," I began. Warm, human, real. Then my voice sharpened, not loud, just clear. "But I also want to thank myself, not for emotional support only, but for paying for the venue, the flowers, the makeup, the photographer, the honeymoon deposit, and more." Gasps spread across the room like wildfire. I continued, steady. "I gave so she could have this moment, even when I wasn't invited to stand in it." Mouths parted, some shocked, some nodding. I looked directly at Michael's family. Respect is not automatic. It's earned. And today, I came not because I was welcome, but because I chose to stand where I invested love and sacrifice. Emily's eyes filled, this time, not with guilt, but pride. I placed the MIC down. The room erupted, whispers, soft applause, even a few standing. Michael's face flushed, his pride dented but reality finally settling. Emily walked to me slowly, hands shaking. "Mom, I'm here," I said, pulling her into a hug. "Not despite them, but for you." Because power isn't in shouting. It's in showing up, uninvited, unashamed, undeniable. That wedding wasn't ruined. It was reset, and respect finally sat in its proper seat. But the story wasn't over yet. Because the next morning, Emily showed up on my doorstep, suitcase in hand, mascara smudged from crying. "Mom, I need to talk. It's about Michael." The day after the wedding, I was watering the garden when I heard a car door slam. Not hurried, heavy. I turned and saw Emily standing at the gate, veil gone, hair tied messily, suitcase beside her like she had run without planning. Her eyes were swollen, but not from joy this time. "Mom," she said quietly. I set down the watering can. "Come inside." She followed me into the kitchen, the same room where I once packed her school lunches, where she cried over breakups, where I spent nights staring at contracts wondering why I wasn't welcome. She sat at the table without waiting for an invitation, like a child returning to the one place that never stops being home. Her fingers twisted nervously. I couldn't stay there last night. I waited. Words come easier when silence holds them gently. She inhaled shakily. "Michael was angry about your speech. His parents were furious. They said I embarrassed the family by letting you come." Her voice cracked. "He told me I should have chosen them over you." Pain flickered in me, but it wasn't the same pain from before. This time, it wasn't mine alone. She felt it too. "What did you say?" I asked softly. She looked up, eyes shining. I told them you're my mother. You raised me. You paid for that entire wedding. You deserved respect. A tear slid down her cheek. Michael said if I stayed with you last night, I might as well not come back. Silence settled like a heavy blanket. She chose. Not his table with polished silverware and perfect white flowers. She chose this old kitchen with chipped mugs and warm hands. I reached across the table, placed my hand over hers. You did something brave. Painful, but brave. Her voice trembled. I think I married the wrong family. I wanted love, not status. I thought I had to impress them. I forgot who I was trying to impress in the first place. We sat there quietly for a moment, mother and daughter, wounded but together. No audience, no cameras, no expectations. Just truth, raw and unboatable, but honest. I let them make me feel like you weren't enough, she whispered. Like I needed to hide where I came from. And I'm sorry, Mom. You deserved better. I was stupid. I felt tears burn, but I didn't let them spill. Instead, I cupped her face gently. You weren't stupid. You were scared. Acceptance is a powerful drug. She sobbed softly, leaning into my palm. I don't want that life if it means losing you. You don't have to choose between love and family, I said. But love should never demand you throw family away. She nodded like the words filled cracks inside her. We spent the rest of the morning talking, really talking, in ways we hadn't for years. She told me how Michael's mother inspected everything, her dress, her voice, her posture. How she was told I'd embarrass them because I wasn't like their circle. How emails to me were reviewed. How that message, watched through Livestream LOL, wasn't her. It was typed while she cried in the bathroom. That broke something old and healed something new all at once. So what now? I asked gently. She sighed. I don't know. I need time to think, to breathe. I might stay here a few days, if that's okay. It was more than okay. It was everything I wanted without begging for it. I smiled softly. Your room is still the same. Dusty, but waiting. She laughed through tears, like a memory resurfacing. She stayed. Not just one night, 3. We cooked dinner together, watched old movies, folded laundry side by side. No wedding planners. No expectations. Just us. On the 4th evening, she said it calmly, not dramatic, not impulsive. I want to work on my marriage, but on my terms. If Michael can respect us, maybe there's hope. If not, I won't stay where love comes with conditions. It wasn't revenge. It was growth. She left the next morning, not back to the hotel, but to her own apartment. Space she could think in. Life she could rebuild without someone scripting her. We weren't fully healed, but we were no longer broken apart. The wedding gave her a moment to choose. She chose to come home. Weeks passed. Slow, gentle weeks, the kind where wounds don't burst but quietly stitch themselves back together. Emily visited often, sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to sit in silence at the dining table where everything had once fallen apart. Now it felt like the place where it rebuilt. She started therapy, began working again, stopped trying to live like a glossy magazine picture and started remembering who she was before gold cutlery and perfect photos mattered. She laughed more, a real laugh, unpolished, snorting like she did at 16. I missed that sound. Hearing it again felt like spring after a long winter. Michael reached out eventually. Polite messages at first. Apologies that felt rehearsed. Then longer ones. Then one night he asked if they could come over together. They sat on my couch, awkward, fragile, holding hands like two people trying to glue something back that cracked. He apologized properly this time, voice low, no pride. I let my family control too much, he admitted. I thought appearance was everything. I forgot marriage starts with respect. He looked at me, not like an opponent this time, but like a human who finally understood his place was beside Emily, not above her. I am sorry for how you were treated. It won't happen again. Maybe old me would have stayed bitter. But motherhood teaches forgiveness like soil teaches roots, slowly, quietly, without announcement. I looked at them both and said, respect is the price of love. You pay it daily, not in money, in actions. They nodded, and somehow I believed them. Not fully. Trust returns like sunrise, not a switch. But I saw honesty cracking through their pride, and that was enough for now. Emily hugged me for a long time that night. I want you at every part of my life, she whispered. Not because you paid for it, but because you're my mother. And those words healed places I didn't know were bruised. She still lives with him, but differently now. She speaks up. She sets boundaries. She visits me every Sunday for lunch. No missed weeks. No excuses. Sometimes we bake. Sometimes we argue. Sometimes we just exist together, comfortable and real. Not mother versus bride. Just mother and daughter. People ask me if I regret paying for that wedding. I don't. Not anymore. Money returns. Lessons stay. And that wedding wasn't my loss. It was our turning point. It taught her that love without respect is decoration. It taught me that silence is not dignity. Voices. If you're a mother listening to me, hurting because the child you raised forgot you, let me tell you something I learned slowly. Love doesn't make you weak. It makes you patient. Respect makes you strong. And knowing your worth makes you unstoppable. Life eventually gives every person a mirror. Sometimes gently, sometimes painfully. Emily's mirror came wrapped in satin and champagne. Mine came in receipts. But we both faced our reflections. And we both walked out better than we walked in. Thank you for listening to my story. It means more than you think. Did you like my story? Please like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I want to know how far this story of mine travels. And if one day someone tries to erase you from a chapter you helped write, remember this. You don't always need revenge. Sometimes just standing in the place they tried to remove you from is victory enough.